So on any technology journey, obviously we're not spending 4 weeks with you and saying good luck with all that. That's not nice. So this is just to show that we have lots of ways to help you. You do not need to take any notes or remember this, because these slides will be published for your review later. But this is more to show that depending upon where you are and what type of help you need, we have ways to help you. So this is really just to say that we're not going to say good luck with all that in 3 weeks from now when we're done with this program series. So because we don't know, actually, we'll take an informal poll. I didn't have a formal poll set up. So like if you'll use the react buttons, the little happy face on your screen in Teams, if you'll give me any of the reactions to let me know if you're familiar with Microsoft Viva at all. Like if you have any of the apps in use, if you've heard of it, if you've seen it, give me a little reaction. All right, I'm seeing a few. All right, so for you, those of you who are giving me the reaction, this will be a little bit of review, but we want to make sure everybody is has the appropriate framing for Viva Connections. So Viva is part of a larger suite of applications or products. And it really started out of a lot of things that went on during the pandemic and changes in work trends. We actually published this thing called the Work Trend Index. We just released a new one, I think last month, and we had our Viva Summit last week. We can also share the links to that recording. It's really a good way to keep up with the latest industry research and things that are on the minds of employees, things that are on the mind of leaders and managers. So what came out of a lot of this research was that we all got kind of accustomed to having more flexible work options, so not 5 days a week in the office. And so we want some amount of that flexibility to stay. A majority of leaders are saying, yes, we need to make changes to our flexible work policies. Obviously, this one is actually from 2021, so we're actually seeing a swing back in the other direction with a little bit more return to office. So we're still in that hybrid space, but every organization is navigating that challenging area of how much hybrid, how much remote, how much on-site. And then last, because we were all or many of us, I should say, were isolated during the pandemic, like a lot of people were saying, I want to see people. I don't want to be at home 5 days a week. So we have challenges set before us. Obviously, people are what make organizations tick, so to speak. So like a clock. 86% say that digital training programs boosted employee engagement and performance. We all generally know this, that when you invest in people and you invest in their skills, that they generally are happier, more engaged employees because they see that as the company valuing them. And then we also know that because this all comes down to not just what's good for the employee, but that balance with what's good for the organization. We know that when employees are engaged, we have more profitable organizations. So it's a win-win for both the employees, the leaders, and the shareholders or owners of the company. So this is essentially what led to the development of Microsoft Viva. It's an employee experience platform. You're seeing a little shift in our messaging around this, but since it was just announced actually 1 week ago today, we're still updating our content. So we're kind of in the shift from employee experience to workforce performance, but there's really not that much of a change in the actual content. It's really, we know that engaged employees, happy employees produce better outcomes. So workforce performance. So we know that these things that we invested on the employee side have direct business results. And so these are kind of our pillars that we have of the employee experience platform, and you can see them here. So what we're going to focus on today, you see Viva Connections at the top, and it's really meant to be the gateway to your employee experience. And it's also arguably, it fits under here as well, next to Viva Engage and Amplify. If you're familiar with Yammer, Yammer is now called Viva Engage. We're in the process of rebranding all of our apps, but it is now Viva Engage. And so Viva Connections actually belongs in both places, but our marketing lead told me he wasn't allowed to put it in both places. So it's there. So this is I'm just going to go back for 1 second. So this is our connection pillar. And so this is what Viva Connections is a part of and what we're really going to focus on for these 4 weeks. So we do have a quick video that'll let you have a little bit more insight into what we mean by connection. And also, once again, apologies to anybody having audio problems. We will get the video link posted so you can listen to this later. All right. So when we talk about connection, it's really that part of feeling part of your organization, part of, connected to other people in your organization, connected to its mission, its vision, for either the products or services it delivers. A lot of people feel disconnected from their organizations, especially, those that were in more remote scenarios during the pandemic, for sure. And communication is really the top skill that most leaders think that they're going to require. It's just the ability to be transparent and honest and, have effective communications that are landing with the employees. So we think that this is a great way to leverage Microsoft Viva, and it's really making sure that people are aware of things that are relevant and personal to them. So based upon their job role, their location, the customers they're interacting with, all of those different attributes about our employees, making sure that the information they're receiving is tailored to their experience. Having communities where anybody can exchange ideas, that kind of cross-pollination, or the virtual water cooler, if you will. We're actually running another customer hub like this for Viva Engage that's on Tuesdays. And so those communities live in Viva Engage. And so all of these things kind of fit together. Having a two-way dialogue between employees and leaders. For a long time, leaders would kind of send out memos, or in the olden days, or emails, or just general statements. And so they weren't authentic, they weren't warm. And so we're starting to see modern communications improve, number one, the way that leaders communicate with employees and with different segments of employees, and then also having technologies to actually have that two-way dialogue. So instead of just outward communication from the leader, employees can ask questions, they can share thoughts and ideas, and they feel, once again, back to our point, more connected. And then last, really making sure that people have the right tools, access to the right people, and the information they need to do their best work. So we all have stupid work in our day. It takes us too long to find things. We have to click on 5 or 6 links to get to where we're going. So once again, there's ways we can reduce that stupid work. We can reduce the administrative load of what people are doing and make it easier for them to focus on the things that are directly adding value, and not what I like to call administrivia. So another element of the connection pillar is inclusion. Having a personalized communication of resources, like we just spoke about, having that home. So when we talk about Viva Connections, it is at home for the employee experience. That place they can start their day. We find that mobile usage is extremely important, so that, a lot of people are not consuming information at their desk. A lot of our workers aren't sitting at a computer all day. So having that rich mobile experience gives them that accessibility that they wouldn't have otherwise. Engaging employees and having your corporate communications at scale. So making sure that important things are seen across the organization, making sure they're viewed, delivering them in engaging ways to make sure that they're going to be not only understood, but acted on. Having communities aligned to interests and functions. At Microsoft, we have, I would say, mostly business-related communities, but we also have fun things about food. We have Pets of Microsoft. So once again, another way for people to feel connected to their organization. Leadership tools to engage directly with employees, as I mentioned on the last slide. So having that two-way open conversation instead of one-way communications. Once again, making it very transparent that leaders are not only sharing information, but they're also taking in feedback from the employees as well. And then last, discovering people and organizations within the company. All right, so now we're going to get specifically into Viva Connections. I'm just going to go back because I'm going fast and I feel like this is a lot. So we started with Viva, and then we kind of got into the connection pillar. And so now we're actually just going to focus on Viva Connections itself. So it's really meant to be the gateway to your employee experience. It brings together news, announcements, conversations, applications, tasks, and resources in a single destination. So I've been working with portals for a very long time, is what we called them in the olden days. I started on the portal stuff in the year 2000, so it's been a while. And so it's essentially been that same objective. It's like give people a place to start and make it easy for them to access the things they need to do their jobs. And fortunately, technology has greatly enhanced what we're able to deliver today. So you can brand this experience. It can have your company's name or intranet name, whatever, or Viva Connections name, an icon, and colors. And it's personalized for everybody. So like my experience is not like the Shaw's or Margot's. It's going to be based upon like what job role am I in, what location, and what Microsoft Office location am I closest to, what country do I live in? All of those things are going to change what I see in Viva Connections, including like the Viva Engage or Yammer communities I belong to. So my newsfeed is going to be different simply because I follow different sites, I have a different organizational structure, and I'm a member of different communities. So this experience is very unique to each employee. And the good news is it does not require a lot of extra work to make it that way. And so it's really meant to simplify everybody's day by giving them a personalized dashboard and to keep them connected with targeted news and information. So you're getting a mix of SharePoint news, a mix of Viva Engage or Yammer postings, and you're also getting, if you're using stream video, you're going to have that in your feed as well. And there's an algorithm that talks about, and we can cover that in week 4, but about how things get prioritized or ordered in your feed, but you're going to have boosted news, you're going to have featured things from Viva Engage. So there's a way that you can make sure that people see those important columns. All right. And then, as I mentioned before, we know that many employees are not tied to a laptop or a desk. And so this is a way to have information on the go. And I will say specifically when we talk about things that are personal to the employee, so like your benefits, how great is it to be sitting in a doctor's office and not being sure about something with your health insurance and be able to just click on your phone and find out like what's covered, if there's like a form you need to fill out, whether your provider's in network, like all of those things that would previously have required some, research at home maybe. Once again, simple button on the dashboard makes it super simple. You could even like request reimbursement for your expense while you're sitting in the waiting room. So really, really powerful capabilities. Sorry, I am going to be drinking water. It is flavored water, so it's pink, but I promise I'm not drinking anything more exciting than water. I have to share this every time, so no worries. So this is the new desktop experience we released last month, and it's pretty straightforward. So this is kind of the breakdown. We have a header at the top, so you can actually change the background image to reflect your organization's brand. You're going to have the feed on the right. And so that's your SharePoint news, your Viva Engage or Yammer communities, and then your stream videos. Your dashboard is going to be kind of the shining star of this new desktop experience. And it's going to have content that comes from Viva. It's going to come from third-party applications, Teams apps, and internal line of business systems. So like these are those cards, and we'll see examples of them a little bit later, but these are those cards that are giving your employees that quick access to those things they need to do every day. And then last, we have a resources section. And so if you have, if you're familiar with global navigation, SharePoint, this is where that would show up on the bottom left. And then we also have your frequent sites and your followed sites. So Office Microsoft 365 is keeping track of the sites that you follow, the sites that you're on all the time. So you're actually going to have this customized list for easy access to the places that it knows you're at all the time. So you don't have to go find them again. For our suite customers, this was a huge request, and it was a single entry point to the entire Viva suite of apps. So you can see we have quite a few. Some of these aren't launched yet. Amplify is not out. Pulse is coming very shortly, but our Viva app family is growing for sure. And so this was one of our top requests from our customers, is that I don't want to pin 5, 6, 9 apps on the Teams left rail or left navigation. And so having Viva Connections as that single entry point reduces the need for you to have multiple Viva apps pinned in Teams. And so we all know that real estate in any sort of system is very limited. And so this way your other line of business applications can still stay in Teams, and you just need to have one space for Viva Connections. So this is the dashboard. It's meant to be 2 types of things. It's either going to be key information. It could be something like, benefits enrollment is coming up and the deadline is 3 weeks from now. So making sure that during that time of year, people have that kind of in their face to remind them that there is a timely events coming up and they need to take action. It could also be things like you see the Viva Learning card, you have overdue trainings and upcoming trainings, you have tasks. You can send praise to a colleague. So you can see the variety of dashboard cards we have here. Obviously, these are going to be different for every organization. And so that's why we're going to show some samples today. And then when we get to the session on recommended practices for adoption, we'll also cover some ideas there as well. And then last, I mentioned the news feed. So this is coming from communities you follow, boosted news in SharePoint, leadership stories. So all of this is coming from SharePoint, it's coming from Viva Engage, and it's coming from stream video. And so this is going to be your news feed. It's going to bring to you the top things based upon those priorities. And once again, just a really easy way to get that content without having to navigate to your intranet, without having to maybe have that pushed to you in email. It's on your phone, it's on your desktop, and super easy to get those top stories. And then, as I mentioned before, like these are your company resources. The one on the left that says Rolla Cloud, so that's what we would call in SharePoint our global navigation. And so that's those key links, or could be sites, could be links, could be documents, but those key things for every employee. We do have audience support. So in SharePoint, audience means I can show something or not show something based upon an attribute of a person. So maybe some of these resources are based upon membership and I live in a certain country or I'm part of a certain organization. So you can actually make sure that these resources are relevant to the employee and not the same for everybody. And then, as I mentioned previously, you just have the frequent sites and the followed sites for the things that Microsoft 365 knows that you're working with every day or following. And then last, when we talk about those dashboard cards, you're not limited to the things that Microsoft offers. You can obviously build your own, but we know that can be costly and time consuming. So we have a lot of great integrations we have dashboard cards from all of the vendors that you see on the screen, and I know more are in development. So this is a really great way. I will say that like the one that we see a lot of is the ServiceNow card. A lot of customers like love having that ability to either look something up in a knowledge base. If they're working in a service desk capacity, they can see cases assigned to them. Or if you're just a regular employee, the ability to just say, I need help directly from your mobile device or desktop. So like, once again, that one-click access for that scenario. All right, so we're going to leave the land of PowerPoint, which I'm sure will make nobody sad. And we're going to take a look at my actual Viva Connections in Teams. So let me get that loaded up really quick. We don't have anything super secret in our general feed. So let me get this shared. There we go. All right. And Vishal, obviously, let me know if anything's wrong with my presentation. Make sure everybody can see. So like this is the new desktop experience. And so you can see I have access to learning, insights, engage, and goals. And I also have these dashboard things. So, I have my pay stub. I apparently have some learning I need to do in the next 3 days. Might be, it's either going to be Friday learning or weekend learning, but I've got some courses to finish. You can see we've got a Perks Plus program that lets us, pay for gym memberships, fitness memberships, or ergonomic furniture for home office, which I have, which is great benefits. And then one of the fun things about working for Microsoft is we try out new things. So my Bing stuff is broken. This is our Microsoft customer and partner organization. So we have our academy for that. Perspectives are when I share feedback about other people or people share feedback about me. You can see I can also clear my... Yes?
I don't think you're sharing your screen, Heather.
Oh, I am sharing my screen.
It's all black.
Okay, I'm sharing my screen, but apparently, apparently Teams says no. I had the red bar and it said I was sharing. But thank you.
There was a glimpse of it for a second, and then it just went to black screen.
Okay, thank you. Can you see now?
Yep.
All right. Yay for technology. Thank you, though. So anyway, so going back a little bit, so these are my links to my Viva apps. These are the cards I was talking about. So like just different dashboard cards for some of the things that I would commonly want to access. You can see, I'm going to scroll through so you can see some of my content that's coming from SharePoint and from Viva Engage. We've got we announced our quarterly results recently, so we have access to the earnings call. We have a note about features moving to Viva Connections. So we've been on a journey of our own. We had a previous application called My Hub for mobile device. And so a lot of that content has been in the process of being moved to Viva Connections. So that's also exciting. You can see this coming from our communities, from Yammer and Viva Engage. And so it's really great to see this mix of content. Once again, this is getting delivered to me based upon the communities that I belong to. I'm getting boosted organizational news. So it's just really great to have all these things in place. And then here at the bottom, you can see all of the different sites. we have a very busy team. And then you can see we've got news, we've got top resources, Infopedia. You can see that, if I wanted to look at policies, benefits, this would take me to HR Web. So it's like it's a really simple way to get to everything. So I did mention that this was the new experience, and so I will take you back to what it originally looked like. It originally looked much more like our intranet, and so if I click on that link, I'm still in Viva Connections, but now I see the intranet homepage. So our intranet homepage is called MSW for Microsoft Web. It's been named that for a very long time. You can see we have spotlights on AI. We have links to resources. You can see I still have my feed for Viva Connections. So I haven't lost it, but this is much more of a content-focused view. So like I said, so that's why next week's session will be dedicated to talking through that experience versus this new one and like which one might make sense for your organization. All right. And the nice thing about the new experience is it doesn't really take that long to demo. So let's get our PowerPoint back up. And unfortunately, PowerPoint Live never remembers where I left off. I have technical feedback for our own team. All right. So we're doing reasonably well on time, so that's good. So the next section is really just to kind of talk through scenarios, use cases, and personas, or like different job roles or ways to apply this technology. Excuse me. So when you think about scenarios, just think about these as solutions to problems. So like if you're having a lack of employee engagement for the first box, if you want employees to have stronger interaction and engagement with news and communications, if you want to bring people together, the town halls, if you want to have a more two-way dialogue, connect people across the organization for build conversation and community, you can kind of see like these are just ways to apply Viva Connections to solve those problems. And giving them a single touch point. Like I said, for all of the work that I've done in the portal and intranet space, and now moving to Viva Connections, all of it's about make life simpler for your employees so they can deliver good products and services to your customers. Engaged employees yields better customer outcomes. So these are some example use cases. You don't need to take notes on this. We will provide the slide deck, but you can kind of see some different use cases based upon a person's role. So we have at the top the general things, and you saw some of those in my Microsoft environment, that we have our pay stub, we have time off, service desk tickets, facilities. So like I don't have an office near me, so I don't have the benefit of going to the cafeteria, but we know that's a popular option for people that are working on site to have we say cafeteria menu good, order food better. So that's always a huge win with organizations. For our frontline workers, it's a little bit more focused. So it could be their shift information, and might even be advanced as not just what are my shifts, but can I trade shifts with somebody, right? My husband ran restaurants for many, many years. And so that was one of the key things that they did, is like the ability to say, hey, I don't want to work Friday because I have some other engagement. Can I trade shifts with you? So that's like a huge thing that just makes it easier for shift workers. Tracking tasks, sales, and tickets. So like all of the things that our frontline workers are working on, just having that list of things that they need to focus on at the ready. Handoff activities between shifts. So if we're thinking maybe a hospital environment or something, or manufacturing, just saying like, this is what happened during the last 8 to 10 hours, so that they take that information into the next shift. When we think about job tasks, just resources, handbooks, procedures, sales promotions, customer data, knowing who's working, and then obviously timesheets and other forms they might need to fill out. For our office workers or information workers, it might be a little bit different. It could be their tasks and action items. It could be upcoming deadlines, org changes, maybe upcoming meetings and events, role-specific resources. And those resources could be people, it could be learning, courses, it could also just be documents. Staying informed and connected, access to internal knowledge, so that's systems and people, knowing who is working in the office and when. We actually have this thing, I think it's called Team Link, that our team uses. And it's an app in Teams so that every week we actually say where we're working, and it lets everybody on the team know whether we're in an office, whether we're working from home, or whether we're actually like off work for that particular day. And we do that every week. And it's just a really easy way to know where our colleagues are. If we're going to be in the same office at the same time, then it's a great way to, make our plans. And then, the general things such as time and expense systems, having status and reminders on those activities as well. Sorry. Throat's getting a little sore. Too much talking. So for our frontline workers, the goal here is really, once again, to simplify things for our frontline workers. Generally, they're going to have less time to be consuming maybe corporate news and communications than somebody who's sitting at a desk and is what we would call more of a knowledge worker. And so really giving them that same level of connectedness, even though they may only be using a mobile device. And so it's basically, giving them a streamlined view of tasks, shifts, key actions, giving them that connection so they get those company-wide updates, communities, and resources so they know what's going on, even though they're maybe not in an office, maybe they're on like a site, and maybe they're just on a mobile device. And then by giving them access to communities, that problem solving and ideation, so they're actually able to connect with other people, maybe in the same role or different roles across the organization, that without the benefit of technology like this, they wouldn't necessarily encounter. So as we move from our frontline workers, this is a professional services example. We actually have quite a few, if not all of the major professional services firms as customers. And I spent a lot of my career in consulting. And so thinking in that scenario, like these are the things that people in that job role need. They need to enter time because time gets billed. They need to know their utilization rate because somebody's decided that that's an important metric for their job, to say that they need to be billable, 2/3 of the time or 75%. For example, they have expense reports if they're traveling. So prior to the pandemic, I was a traveling consultant, and on the road traveling, I was gone 4 days a week. Knowing what your assigned projects and customers are, needing to book those travel things, required learning, because if you're going to consult, you have to stay current with pretty much everything all the time. And then links to key SharePoint sites, obviously role-based using audience targeting, and then having that news feed coming from your communities that you belong to. So, once again, giving these people in this role everything they need to do their job, without having to go to all of those different places. Because if you look at the cards on the screen, all of those are going to be different systems, different links. And so this brings it all together in an easily accessed format and not even requiring them to be on a laptop. And then the last persona we'll cover today is the more general knowledge or office worker, knowledge worker. And so we looked at a little bit of this previously, but kind of diving down, it's like, if they're using, planner tasks or Microsoft To Do, like having those key tasks in action, learning deadlines. We all have learning deadlines here at Microsoft. Your team calendars, I mentioned that, knowing who's in the office and when, super important. Sending praise to colleagues, something that I've been working harder to do on a more frequent basis, because we get so busy sometimes we forget to appreciate those that do great work around us. I mentioned the food is always a win. So if you take nothing from today's session, but if you're going to deploy Viva Connections, if you build a dashboard card for food menus and ordering, it will be a success, at least for the people that are in offices. That and the pets for like Viva Engage, like those are my top 2 recommendations for getting people to use the technology. Room and desk scheduling, a lot of organizations have gone to where you reserve desks for the day or for the week or whatever. So making that easier, booking conference rooms, I mentioned surveys, so feedback and perspectives, your pay information, your holidays, your time off, and then once again, that news feed. So this is just kind of another view of like, how would I use this technology to improve the experience for my employees?